Yeah, man. Let's kill that bass head. Alright, let's do this. I'm on the air, we got this pockets flow. It's me and Tony on the mics, we gotta let you know of current events, little gaming, sprinkle in some entertainment. We stay humble, but our moms still think we're famous. Turn up the bass and baby, maybe let that magic flow. Our spoken word is all the things you really wanna know. Having a good time on the show, T-Bows and Matty G. Tune in and hit subscribe and join us on the FAP.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Freaking Awesome Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Bowes, and of course, sitting next to me is the man behind the mask himself, CJ Graham. CJ, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Anthony, thanks for having me.
Good. Did you hear that little blip in the intro? That was strange.
No, well,
your side?
Yeah, I heard something, but I figured it was just the FBI or something checking on you.
Yeah, right. Every once in a while, Uncle Sam's listening in to make sure we're keeping it all legit up here in Canada. So,
Right.
Excellent. Speaking of which, how is the weather down in your neck of the woods right now?
Well, today's a nice day. It's 25 degrees. Snow's melting a little bit. So the next 3-4 days, it'll get a little higher. We just got off of being 8, 9, 10 degrees and about 10 inches of snow in the last week. So I'm in Montana.
Woo. Yeah, excellent. We're of course in Ontario, and we actually got snow for the first time today. So it's just coming down. It's about a nice balmy 2 degrees Celsius, and we're just kind of getting through it and looking at the sky, saying, "Oh, it's going to happen now, right?" So
this is our second time. This is our second time. About a week and a half ago, we got about 8 inches.
Oh, cheapers. Well, it's a tobogganing neighborhood in your neck of the woods. So I'm a little jealous. I know my kids miss tobogganing, so that's really good.
Exactly.
Of course, given the temperature and everything, I've got my dad's sweater on today, and I'm trying to keep warm. I probably should turn the heat on in the studio, but I've been kind of avoiding it. So, but excellent. Are you? Yeah, that's right. Well, you gotta be a little frugal thing every once in a while. These podcasts don't pay for themselves. You gotta, if you're listening, sponsors, we're always open. So, but one of these days, we'll get there. I mean, it's kind of nice because we get to stay sponsor free, which means no ads interrupting everything, and it's just you and I all day for now, at least for the next 45 minutes to an hour, or how much time you can give us.
Great, appreciate it.
Excellent. All right. So are you ready to start off with a little, I guess we're going to say humorous news today. So we got a couple odd kind of oddities in the news that I think were a little bit hilarious.
All right, let's do it.
So the news article on this one was typos spell trouble for a man alleged attempt to fake his own death. We're a little Halloween today. So it's not often that an English teacher can get a quality bulletin board fodder on the local prosecutor's office, but he did surprise as a motivational material for some was posted up for some classrooms. This particular one was a death certificate that was from the Nassau County, and the district attorney's office said that it was supposed to pass as a death certificate in New Jersey, but the Long Island prosecutor stated that it was, of course, forged and illegal. The funny thing about this is they stated that basically the gentleman who in question, we don't want to use any names today, but they were facing a sentence for felony with a vehicle related to charges that had already been, he'd actually pleaded guilty to. So he was off to prison, and he decided to fake his own death. So he actually got a fantastic replica of a death certificate. And it almost passed. They had said that they were almost going to pass it and be like, oh, okay, I guess we don't have to worry about this one, until someone had noticed that the font was just slightly off. So then they kind of looked in a little bit closer, and he actually had made a spelling error on the word registry. And then that forced him to be like, well, that's kind of odd. So they called up the actual office that issued the certificate to find out that, of course, it was fake. So he was arrested, and I guess it's one more charge they can add to that charge that'll keep him in maybe a little bit longer. So
I guess the question is, why did he want to be dead? And if he wanted to be dead, he should have called Jason Voorhees and got it done right.
Right? Exactly. You're doing it all wrong, man.
Exactly. Give me a call. I'll tell you how to do this.
Do you issue certificates afterwards? One of those things you kind of stick on the body?
Well, Jason never dies, so for me, my death certificate's kind of just floating, so I can help people with that kind of thing. But if you really wanted to create a death certificate, I think you should have spoken to Jason Voorhees and not just kind of arbitrarily made one up off the internet.
Exactly. The internet, of course, is great for everything, but I don't think
Spelling.
necessarily
Everything but spelling.
That's right. You got to spell check. Totally. All right. The second news article I had was a really, really bizarre one. So hang in here for a second. An unnamed 28-year-old man in search of a voluntary castration found himself drawn to a website that apparently offers such services. That led him to travel from Virginia to a cabin in the woods in Poto, Oklahoma. There on the October 12th, Bob Lee Allen, 53, and Thomas Evans Gates, 42, allegedly relieved the victim of his testicles during a 2-hour surgery. The Oklahomaman reported. The Allen told the victim that he had a freezer full of body parts and that he was going to consume the body parts later, and laughed that he was a cannibal. After the surgery, of course, it didn't take so well, so he continued bleeding, in which case they drove him to the hospital, but urged him to say that he attempted to do this himself. When, of course, the doctors saw what happened, they called in the police. The police went out to the cabin to find, of course, a huge amount of body parts in the deep freeze. Allens and Gates were charged with both multiple felonies, misdemeanors, including conspiracy to commit unlicensed surgery and failure to bury the body parts. I had so many questions with that.
You know what? We have enough issues, and we're going to worry about some guy that's given $10, cut your balls off. And who cares at the end of the day? Obviously, he's been doing it for a while with a lot of satisfied customers because his refrigerator is full. So, there's some great plastic surgeons out there that have some bad surgeries go bad occasionally. So, and who cares at the end of the day? We can put those officers, those investigators somewhere else.
Yeah, I feel like there was a whole bunch of wasted time there. I mean, first of all, if you want a castration, I'm sure there are a lot better ways of doing that are safer than going to a random cabin in the woods. There's your first warning sign right there. That is not going to get done properly. And secondly, the moment they say they've got a freezer full of body parts, it's time to leave. Again, don't do it. But lastly, I think the charge of not burying the body parts was that like a Hail Mary play to try to charge them a little longer? I mean, at that point, I don't feel like that is important at all.
No, at that point, we're just wasting our money and time.
Yeah. So I feel like that person that, of course, wanted a vasectomy, again, maybe that's a service that Jason Voorhees could take care of.
Well, he's not going to use a scalpel. He will use a machete, I will tell you that. But may take off more than just a pair of testicles. So be careful.
That's right. Well, it sounds like the amount of blood loss he had that it probably was close enough to be a machete. So,
right.
Yeah. So speaking of which, Jason Voorhees, what a part, what a piece of iconic horror history to be part of. How did that come about for you?
I was very lucky, fortunate, I always say, and running a nightclub in Los Angeles, having a hypnotist on Thursdays, and he decided to bring in a company for a production shot to shoot his show. And the company that came in was called Real Effects. Real Effects just happened to be the company that did all the special effects on Part 4 with Ted White.
Okay.
And, the rest is really history because they had said, well, let's put CJ, he's got the right size. We've got the costume from Ted White in the wardrobe. And let's make the subjects terrified in a scary movie scene. And when I stepped through and toward the screen, the folks from Real Effects just kind of looked at me and said, you know what, this imposing posture that you have, we're going to cast you for Friday the 13th. And again, not going to Los Angeles to be an actor or a stunt man, et cetera. I kind of thought, yeah, thank you, but I'm good. And a couple months later, I got that phone call to come down, Frank Mancuso Jr. at Paramount Studios, meet him, Tom McLaughlin, writer, director, and then Michael Nomad, stunt coordinator. When I say this, the rest is history. Here we are 3 decades later talking about it. And I'm humbly appreciative to say, I've got fans that are from 7 years old to 70 years old.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely amazing. What a time to be in horror movies. I see a lot of the newer ones. My wife loves horror movies, so we often sit down and watch them. And there's just something about the classics all through like the 80s and early 90s that I just find so much. I don't know if it's like more terrifying or better than the ones nowadays. I don't think it's all proper makeup and props versus CG. Maybe just kind of is the difference. But here's a character. I mean, you became famous on not having to say a single word. Like, it's just to don that mask. I mean, what better part can you play for a first role, really?
And it's interesting because I think a lot of people are diverting back. Even today's newer ones are using the classic technology with the cameras and the lenses to create a more of a ambiance, realistic film than, I mean, everybody can do something with a computer, and you can do something with green screen, and you can jump out of an airplane and bounce off the ground 4 times and land on your feet. Okay. But when you see Jason or Michael Myers and you see Leatherface coming through, and those are real people standing outside your studio right now waiting to get in, and it has its own, as you would say, the freaking awesome appeal to it. And I really think people can relate to that. As far as being my first role, interesting enough, you think about it, in my day, everybody wanted to show their face. Hey, let me show my face. I don't want to wear a mask. But it's interesting. Not only 3 decades later are we talking about it, but if you start looking at all the films in the last 10 years, from Iron Man to Batman to Arrow, they're all wearing masks.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm wondering, so masks are cool now, is what I'm saying. So it's kind of interesting. The DC and the Marvel comics, they all have these masked heroes. Well, Jason and Michael Myers were just kind of the bad boys of the block. That's all. A little different.
Right. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because it's true. All heroes generally wear masks. So what if there would be a really fun twist on things if they turned around and actually Jason was the hero through all that, and everybody that he killed actually had a CD pass that was later revealed on a kind of like a flashback of all his killings, to find out that here's a boy who died in a lake and now is come back to exact revenge like the Grim Reaper.
It's possible. There's so many ins and outs and twists when it comes to horror. As long as the nice thing about horror in my era, the ones that are still out there today, be it the Halloweens, the Fridays, it still is a realistic format, and people see that. And it's not something, like I said, it's not like, here we are up on a screen and people are doing backflips with wires, and that's still very athletic, takes a lot of physicality. It really does. But at the same day, it's not real. And you look out the window right now and you see Jason standing out there with a machete holding a head. That's not really what you want to see outside your window, because the next question is, how fast is he going to come through the door? And that's got some realism that people kind of just go, that terrifies people. But as I said earlier, I did a convention about a week ago, and I had 2 fans that came up, were 7 years old, 2 different fans, one boy, one girl. And all they could talk about was playing the game, Jason game, and the video, and dressing up for Halloween as Jason. One thing I can tell you about people that play Jason, and even though you say, well, it's not acting, I challenge anybody to put a hockey mask on, or any kind of mask. You can't use any facial expressions. You can't blink. You can't scream. You can't, make all these faces. And I want you to show anger, curiosity, and power. Not as easy as it sounds, even though, physically it's a challenge. Vocally, you're not doing anything, but how do you express curiosity? You use your eyes, you use your forehead, you use your face. How do you use those to your advantage? But I will tell you, the other thing is, when anybody puts a hockey mask on, and anybody can do it, it's interesting. It doesn't matter if you're short, tall, big, medium. As soon as you put that hockey mask on, you go into character. Everybody, including you, if you put it on. It's a natural, well, nobody can see me, I'm Jason now.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of interesting that you say that, because it's true. It takes a whole new type of talent that when you don't have to your the luck of you having your face for facial expressions, it's true, everything has to be done in body language, and that is very hard to interpret. So if anything, it takes a lot more skill to pull that off. You know, like you said, would it be a tilt of the head, or the way your eyes are looking at something, or a slouch of a body or something to show these emotions? Really, really tough.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. And people, I will tell you, the cool thing is when people come up to a convention and they're full dress wardrobe and they're in Jason, they don't talk. And the person with them will do the talking for them, you know, to get the autograph and the photo signed. However, once
Really?
they lift that mask up, it's interesting. Now they have a conversation, but as soon as they put that mask down, full character, which is really nice. And again, it's very
Yeah.
humble. It's humbling that you know 3 decades later, people are just over the moon about Jason, this character.
Yes, yeah. So it must be amazing to be part of something like this, and especially I'm sure when you first did it, you were probably thinking, well, how much further will this go, or what will become of this movie or something? Would it be put into the list of potential B-rated horror movies out there? Will it go on to be the next big greatest? And it was such a great comeback because, you know, and I don't want to like crap talk the Jason in space or something, but this was still part of the truest of amazing horror flicks. It had everything that you would expect to have in a true horror film.
And you know, it's
So
interesting when you say it because when you think about it, Jason per se, uh, I had no idea when we did this 30 some years ago that we'd be having this conversation, or a 7 year or a 70-year-old fan, and appreciate the fans. I can't believe it. I ran casino resorts for the last 20 some odd years, suit and tie. You know, all my team, I had about 2,500 employees on any given day. And everybody knew that I played Jason. And a lot of them are huge fans of the Jason character. But at the same time, it really didn't dawn on me till about 3 years ago when I retired from the industry and realized I was getting all these calls that, hey, can you do a podcast? Hey, can you do a convention? I'm like, yeah, and it just kind of dawned on me at that point. The interesting thing is, as you said, it's a B movie, low budget, etc. But I'll tell you an interesting, and I always kind of say this. I always say there's about 1.3, 1.4 billion people in India, give or take one.
mm-hmm.
And if I take
Yep.
a picture of Tom Cruise over there, they'll all know it's Tom Cruise. If I take a picture of C.J. Graham or Kane Hodder or Derek Mears, they don't know who we are. But if I take that picture and turn it over to a hockey mask from Friday the 13th, they all say Jason Friday the 13th. Just as
That's right.
equal as they say Tom Cruise. It's kind of, it has become a worldwide icon when it comes to that hockey mask playing Jason. And again, very fortunate to be part of about 9 of us that have participated in those films, the 12 films that are out there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, I do have to ask you: is that the exact outfit behind you? Is that the what you wore
No,
in the
that's a
movie?
replica. I kind of
Okay.
have my friend in my office, and he keeps me alive. I always have to have somebody watching my 6.
Yep. That'll definitely do it. It's funny. I had to ask you. I've noticed over the years, and maybe I'm a little ignorant to this, and you will be able to tell me a little more. But I've noticed that the mask has always been relatively the same, but with some slight differences. Like where you have the red stripe over the top. Then I think there was one that had the triangles on the side as well. Sometimes the whole shapes were different, but it ideally was the same. Was that an intention to show that there's a different person behind this mask, or was that just they decided to up the costume a little?
I think it was a combination of more so the director, the writer, whoever it was, having their own vision of what they wanted to create Jason as. My character in part 6, and then of course part 7 comes back with the same mask, with the exception of there being a chew out from the blade in part 6 from the propeller. And then they just
Yeah.
kind of modified it over the years, back and forth. But the first hockey mask was, of course, part 3, the 3D, and Richard Brooker wore that. And that has just become so iconic over the years. But they do remember Ari, who played the young man in part 1. They still remember Steve Dash, Warrington Gillette, that was in part 2 with the uh, hood over their head. So they still
Yeah.
remember all those folks, but when it comes to the hockey mask after part 3, that was kind of the calling card.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure, but that's kind of nice. It's nice to know that it's from a director's point of view. But I kind of, I think it's just because we live in a day with, movies always putting little Easter eggs in or things that people or fans are supposed to find. And sometimes I look at some of the older movies and I think, was this actually happening back then? And if so, where exactly were they putting them in? And I think it almost becomes part of the fun of watching a lot of the older movies to see if these things are actually occurring. So,
Yeah, ours was a rubber chicken.
was it really?
There was a rubber chicken
Really? Oh, wow.
hanging in different areas. You could see the shadows of it. That was our gig. It's in one of the pictures of me in the back of one of the special effects truck hanging up by its neck. And that rubber chicken they used to put in different areas, so it would be in the background, or you just see the shadow of it through the screen. So the rubber chicken was everybody's gig at our place.
That's really funny. Now, all our listeners and viewers out there, you can go back through all the films now and at least look for a rubber chicken and
Yep.
see if that ever got carried through. So that's really funny. I was going to ask you also when it comes to horror movies. Do you remember the time basically where the line suddenly got crossed? It was always kind of the thing that there was an unwritten rule that the mass murders never killed kids, and then that changed at some point. And I remember as a kid, I was kind of like, I remember seeing this and thinking, holy crap, all bets are off. Anybody's could be killed nowadays. And it used to be just adults or teens or college students, but now it's like anybody is fair game when it comes to a psychotic killer.
Part 6, I mean, people ask me that, and I always say, well, Jason doesn't kill children, quote unquote. In part 6, there's several children in the film, and there's a curiosity factor, but not I'm going to hurt factor. Part 6, Jason comes back to life like Frankenstein. And if you recall the old Universal Frankenstein, that means the electricity has started to connect the brain waves. So Jason is starting to think a little bit out of the box, and there's some curiosity factors. And you'll see that in part 6. But sometimes kids ask me, and I always say Jason never kills a kid. Now, as soon as you turn 16 and start acting up, that's different. Game on. But as long as you stay within the boundaries, the perimeters of being a good kid, Jason's probably your friend.
Yeah, yes. And it's funny because I remember rewatching 6 not too long ago and thinking like, oh crap, the kid's out of her bed. She's wandering around like, is this going to actually happen? When was the line drawn? And it was actually quite nice to see that that wasn't happening. But it kind of made it sorry, go ahead.
It kind of made it what?
I was going to say it kind of made it like a modern telling of Jason was the boogeyman. If you act it up, the boogeyman comes for you.
Correct. And that's what your parents will tell you. As long as you're a good child, you won't get in trouble. Interesting story is Tom McLaughlin called me about 3-4 weeks ago, and he's the writer-director of part 6. In part 6, there's a young lady, a little girl, blonde girl in the bed, and I bend over her and look at her, and she starts praying. She's probably 8 years old, we'll say. Well, she had reached out to him about a month ago. She's now in her 40s and has a 6-year-old son. And the 6-year-old son wanted a hockey mask, but he didn't want a white hockey mask from Target. He wanted a cool hockey mask like this one behind me. And so Tom reached out to me to see if we could get him one. But the idea was that young lady who was about 8 years old, now she's in her 40s, got a 6-year-old. He's a horror fan. Now, Friday the 13th, Jason. Now, think about that. It was her mom. His mom was a child in the movie. Now he's just a 6-year-old, and he's all into Jason.
Yeah, what a way that circle comes back around. Like that's actually really cool to hear about that. And obviously someone that you obviously other than that movie you don't really have any connection with. But what amazing thing. Like I got to tell you, that is super super cool.
Yeah, for me, it was just, Tom called me. I was like, really? And for Tom, it was just shocking that she had reached out to find him because she wanted something other than just. So we accommodated her and stuff. And, I'm kind of just proud of the fact that here she is. She was just a young, child actor, and she did her job. And now she's got a son, and he wants a hockey mask from Jason.
Yeah, that's super cool. So I do have to ask you, what is your Halloween tradition?
Well, I don't know if I have a Halloween tradition. I live in Montana, so my closest neighbors maybe 100 yards away, which is a football field. There's another one, a football field after that. So I don't think there's going to be too many trick or treaters. But up until I retired 3 years ago, I would always work because we'd have huge Halloween parties and costume contests at the casinos for not just the consumers and the customers, but our high rollers. So most of the time, just like New Year's and Christmas, I always worked. I mean, that was just my job. And of course, when the players were coming in, one of the places I ran in Thunder Valley Resort up in Northern California, we'd have about 9 million people a year coming through that casino. So I was always on work mode until I stepped back and retired. And now I can actually enjoy some of the fruits of my labor. And, my wife and I, Ruby, we just kind of enjoy it. We've got horses. So we do different things with our animals. Christmas last year, we wrapped a flake of hay for each one of the horses, put a bow on it, threw it in their pens, and let them rip it open to get to the hay.
So, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Both my girls are equestrians, and they would love to hear that. So that'll be really cool.
Right. And then our kids, they don't live with us. Our kids are 21, 24, and 25. And, they're on the West Coast up and down and different areas. So, we're still quite 1,000 miles from them, maybe 800 miles. So it's just me and Ruby. We just enjoy ourselves. We have alpacas. We have a few beehives. So if you ever get bored, come over. We get stung by the bees. I feel like Yogi Bear is stealing honey out of there, and they'll sting you a couple times, but you get some good honey out of there.
Yeah, it might be worth it. You're saving the world one bee at a time. That's fantastic. Yes. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so we have a second part of our show here where I'm going to ask you a few quick questions. This is called our slightly slower than average rapid fire questions. And you just have to, if you don't know the answer, of course you can pass. But if you do have an answer, just give me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right, here we go. What made-up word would you register in the English language?
That was it, by the way. Nothing, because Jason doesn't talk.
Oh.
Gotcha, huh?
That was great. What was the scariest dream you've ever had?
Gosh, Jason doesn't have dreams, so he just acts out reality.
Right.
You're not going to get in my brain because I'm just going to pick back at you. But I don't remember. Dreams are different for me. I think I don't really get a lot of them. Because when I'm able to sleep, I do sleep in a deep sleep. So, but I think the biggest fear of anybody is drowning. I mean, that's just terrifying.
Yeah.
Like Jason at the end of part 6, drowning. Even though you're going back to the originality when you start, being born. But drowning is terrifying.
Yeah. I've often thought. I heard it's a peaceful way, and I'm just like, who's going to say that that's peaceful? I don't think anybody can come out of that situation and say, oh, that was fantastic, that was peaceful.
Yeah, so, I don't know, but I don't want to be at the bottom of a lake with a chain around my neck.
Heck no. If you could have a superpower, which one would you have?
A superpower. A little hokey, but I'd like to see people a little more happier.
Okay, I like that one. Yeah, the ability to grant happiness or project happiness or something. That'd be cool. I don't think anybody's ever said that yet.
No, I think that's just like I said, it might be a little hokey, but people want power for this and that and the other thing. It's more self-power. But if you could just spread a little, smile around, I think that's pretty special power.
Yeah. Spread a little love. I love that. Yeah. Which actually Jason. Is funny. That brings us to Jason. Yeah. It brings me to the second part of that question, I guess, is what makes you happiest?
Me, just relaxing with my wife, my animals. Unfortunately, we're healthy. Our children are healthy. And I think one of the things I enjoy now is just humbly being able to say I played Jason, and how many people that brings a smile to their face, and just kind of like, wow, that's kind of cool. And when we do conventions, I really do make sure I give the fans the questions. They ask questions, and sometimes I may have heard the question before, but to that fan, it's the first time they've ever heard the answer. So you really got to put it out there and let them know. And when you look at a 5-year-old, a 6, a 7-year-old, and they're talking about Jason and they're showing you pictures from Halloween, that's pretty cool. I mean, that puts a smile on my face.
That's super awesome. I like that. Yeah. If you could go back in time and live in a different decade, which one would you choose?
Let's see. I enjoyed the 80s. Everything was much more
Yeah.
relaxation. There wasn't trauma, and to be honest, social media isn't good, bad, or indifferent, but social media puts everybody out there on the limb all the time, where in the 80s, you didn't have that. So there wasn't this dilemma always going on of what somebody said about somebody or taken out of content about how it looked or the way it was said. I know a lot of things now, people just say things like, "Oh, well, you're goofy," and by the time it gets to another person, you're stupid, and then feelings are hurt, and then everybody blasts social media. It's like, I think that really puts a lot of pressure on people, and it's unfortunate, but it's not necessary. So I think the 80s were just right there, just enough where the computers were being operational. Apple was coming up in computers, phones were getting there, but it wasn't ridiculous.
Yeah. And the music was fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Van
we got a little shout out
Van
for
Halen.
Yeah. That's right. Well, I was going to even say maybe a little Alice Cooper. I don't know.
AC, he is my hero. He was my first
Right?
concert in the 70s.
Was he? Oh man, that's so amazing. Yeah.
1972.
I still love the iconic Man Behind the Mask, or He's Back by Alice Cooper, just for, a Jason 6. It was fantastic. It was really cool. You got a shout out from Mark Laird. He's from Scotland. Big fan of yours.
Mark, what's up?
Super awesome. So we've got another question here for you, and it would be, I love this one. Do you believe in aliens?
I do, but I don't. What that means is, it's like, do I believe in ghosts? I've never seen one, but I am not stupid enough to say there aren't ghosts. So are there aliens? I haven't seen one, but that doesn't mean there aren't aliens. So I walk a real politically correct answer with that. But if I do see one, I'll let you guys know.
Sounds good. You've heard that, everybody. We're looking for some proof, and that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
If PETA wasn't all over you and you could basically domesticate an exotic animal, which one would you choose?
Oh, I like mountain lions.
Mountain lions. That's cool.
Yeah, they're BAs.
You better make sure that you're feeding that sucker every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it was domesticated, that's what I'm saying. If it was a domesticated big cat, they're pretty cool. Cats are pretty cool in general. Unfortunately, a mountain lion or a cougar, no matter how cool you think they are, they still have that wild tendency. So, but I think I think they come home. If you remember Crockett in the 80s, Miami Vice, he had an alligator on his boat.
Yes, that's right. Oh,
that's
man,
right.
I missed that show. That was always a good one. Yeah. Mark Lord at It's great to see you. Enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, I'm trying, partner.
If you could, actually, what gets on your nerves? What is one thing that gets on your nerves at this point?
Oh, gosh. I have the patience of a frog. Coming out of the hospitality industry, 4-diamond service, 4 stars, working for Steve Wynn, 5-star hotels. I'm a big service person, and it's really hard for me to walk in and people won't make eye contact. They don't greet you. They don't say thank you. I'm just like, really? It's interesting because I'm so straightforward. Hey, how are you? I use people's names on a regular basis. Even a host or a hostess, when I walk into a restaurant, if I see their name tag, it's just born and bred. But it just bothers me when people understand what service means. So that gets under my skin, because here I am and I tip, 20%. I'm a good tipper. I take care of business. Folks are working hard to make a living, but I don't know if they really have been trained or understand the hospitality service as I've seen it delivered. Running casino resorts for 20 years, it's the top of my list, and it's no different than how I would treat my team members. My team they make me look the best. So take care of your team, take care of your guest, and they'll take care of you.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the Richard Branson's theory of running businesses, right? Take care of your team, and they'll watch after you for sure.
Yeah, when I run a business, Anthony, what I always have said 3 words, and it pretty well sums up an executive, how they should think. They don't all think this way.
Yep.
You qualify, you quantify, and you simplify. And think about it.
Good words.
These
Yeah.
people go get educations and degrees, but they don't teach them the basics. Qualify, quantify, simplify. Why has it got to be so complicated? The only person that understands the complication is you if you're in charge. And if nobody understands what you're trying to do to succeed, the mission's not going to get completed. And I learned that simply put 46 years ago in the military.
I was going to say that it's definitely, if anybody didn't dig into your past at all, it's very apparent that you have a military background. Maybe that's because I'm a bit of a base brat and I come from a military family, but you recognize it. Even no matter how old someone gets, you can see it in their speech, their movements. It's kind of always out there.
You mean like that?
Yep. Look at that. He's got it right up there. So that's fantastic.
That was my uniform when I ETS'd, my time of service, when I got out of the military. Gosh, that was 46 years ago. I was in the military, so a long time ago.
Wow, that's fantastic. What branch were you?
Army.
Army? Yeah. Oh, that's good. My father was Navy. So
yeah, I was one of those, they call those grunts, infantry. So, but I enjoyed it.
That's right.
It taught me a lot about honor, integrity, appreciation, teamwork, camaraderie. So I've carried those forward, and I think it's helped make me successful.
Yeah, excellent. Again, from Mark from Scotland, loves your advice. He was military and he runs a business now, so he's going to take to heart what you just said, learn and share that on.
Yeah, that's Scotland. It's interesting because I have Norwegian roots, as you can probably see by my tattoo. Can you see those?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Those are some great sleeves. Love them.
So, with that, I had the pleasure earlier this year, before everything went north, south, east, or west. In February, I got to go to Sweden and do a convention. So, unfortunately, I was supposed to be in England this month, as a matter of fact, and with everything being the way it is. But I'm not going to complain. A lot of people have lost their lives, and I'm doing fine. So I've been fortunate. But maybe next year we'll get back to going over there and checking out Scotland, checking out a few things, and Ireland, another good place. The Norwegian in all, the setting of the Vikings, etc.
Yeah. We actually had a guest not too long ago, Rocky Kramer, who was out of Norway. He's like Norway's rock ambassador, and it's quite interesting hearing what life is like there, and of course he is now in the California area, so it's a bit of a life in change, but it's pretty cool. We're always very, very happy when we hear, especially I love when I jump on and you see some statistics from the audio part of our podcast, and it pops up and we have people from Norway and Sweden and Germany and everybody pop up. So it's really wonderful to see the global reach. So I'd love at some point maybe to be able to tour to some of those. I've been a little travel redundant maybe, but it's one of these days I'll be able to get a little bit more time, and hopefully this COVID thing will be a thing of the past so we can get back to traveling.
Yeah, I spent some time in Germany when I was in the military. I was in a place called Neu-Ulm. It's about 90 clicks from Munich, and I was also in Kitzingen, outside it's up in northern Germany. So I was with the 3rd Infantry Division, and then they moved me down to a Persian unit, and then back stateside with the 7th Infantry.
Oh wow! So bit of a circle around. We didn't get to travel much. My dad kind of tried to stay keeping things in the old Canadian area. He of course was posted off to Egypt and some other areas, but we tried to stay up in this area just for family wise, not moving around too much. I think it was easier for us kids to just continue making friends and not bouncing around too much. But
right.
It would have been nice to maybe see the world a little more as I get older. I kind of like, I wish he traveled, but I guess as a kid it made it quite easy for us. So.
Right.
Mark again from Scotland. Visit Scotland when you get the chance. You'll love it. We're all Celts.
Nice, Mark. Look forward to that one day. You don't know, every conventions, and again, I didn't realize this till about 3 years ago, are just everywhere. Every continent is having conventions, and HorCons have been around for quite a while. in the States, Monster Mania, Texas Frightmare, Spooky Empire, Crypticon, Days of the Dead. And now, over the last several years, they've pyramided into the Comic Cons, like the San Diego, which has been going on for, 15 years. But Comic Cons are everywhere, and they've kind of put the horror figures right next to Mickey Mouse, basically. And it's interesting because there are people that are, doing cosplay, and there are people in horror costumes, and there are people that are just look like they just got off work at the bank, walking through, getting autographs. I did have a person last year come up to me, a lady, to get an autograph, and I asked her what she was going to do with the photo, and she goes, "Well, I'm a colonel in the United States Air Force," and she was going to put it on the back of her desk behind her in her office. And I said, "Well, that's going to be great. Here comes a lieutenant or an airman, and you've got this picture of Jason on your backside." But the thing was, here we got a colonel from the Air Force, and she's a horror fan.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it really is. It's all walks of life, right? And
really
Mark
is.
says, yep. Yeah, they've got a Comic-Con. We actually have both a Comic-Con and a Fan Expo, and it's the same thing. They blend the horror industry right in, and it's quite fantastic. It's always fun up here. I've never been to a San Diego Comic-Con. I'd love to. I know it was kind of one of those birthplaces of some of these things, and just to see how big they are, right? I mean, we're a little limited maybe in the venues here, but it's definitely it's really cool. I've been to a couple. I've seen a few people, and it's just the energy of everybody, like you said, of like all walks of life, who come in, and no matter what they do, no matter how rich they are, no matter race, creed, color, anything, it's all shared by their love of films, comic books, art, everything out there. So it's just a wonderful thing, and you really, it's kind of like when you walk into to Disneyland for the first time. You feel like a kid when you're at these things, and the energy is just fantastic.
Well, with wearing a hockey mask, when people come by and they see the banner behind me and it says Jason, they'll first thing is, "Did you play Jason?" No.
I don't want to be like,
and their jaw hits the floor, and it's like, "Can I get a selfie?" I mean, they just go happy. It's like their happy thought, as you said earlier. What's your happy thought? Meeting Jason.
It's almost like an oxymoron when you think about that, right? What was your happy thought? Meeting the cold-hearted killer.
Humbly appreciative.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's amazing. That's right, Mark. It's all about imagination. It's nurtured everywhere. It's fantastic.
Right.
Wonderful. So I do have a couple more questions here before we wrap things up. One of them, of course, is, what is the best thing you have ever eaten?
You froze on that one. You have to repeat it.
Oh, it was, what is the best thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, listen, I'm an Outback steak guy. Just give me a steak and a baked potato with butter, and I'm the happiest soldier in the world. I'm so simplistic. My wife, Ruby, she loves everything Indonesian food and spices. I'm boring. Just give me a steak, a baked potato, some butter, and a big glass of milk. Oh, I'll be your best friend forever. And if you got some apple pie with ice cream, home run.
Good old meat and potatoes person. You can't go wrong.
Food. Huh?
Yeah. No, I said good old meat and potatoes. You can't go wrong.
I am. I'm just very, vanilla when it comes to my food. It drives my wife crazy.
Yeah, for sure. What do you do? What do you do that would basically give you or make you lose time? Like, what is the one thing you do in your day that you might find like you've lost time because you're doing it?
You mean that I lose time?
Yes.
I don't right now, just, it's an interesting question. When we have 12, 13 hours of daylight, there's a lot of wasted time because you got the time. But right now we're down to about 10 hours of daylight up here. So you really get up, the sun comes up at 7:45. It goes down at about 6. And so you're kind of in full motion all day long. But my thing is, for me personally, I'll just sit down and try to get some work done on the computer now, because when I was running casino resorts, I had 2 different casinos that I was operating over, 2 different hotels. I had 2 executive assistants and a couple of general managers reporting to me. So I was traveling back and forth between the 2 resorts. So I never had a moment that was down. It was always, and the phone was next to my bed going off at 2 o'clock in the morning. such and such
Oh,
wants
wow.
another $250,000 credit line, or such and such is winning $500,000. So I really never, now I kind of cherish my downtime. So I don't really think it's that I'm wasting. I'm just enjoying recuperating the 24/7, 365. I worked for so many years running casino resorts. So, to
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
just looking at the sunset right now is enjoyable.
yeah. Just relaxing and enjoying time is your thing. So that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
a lot of
We've got
people, yeah, a lot of people don't get a chance to smell the roses, or some smell them too much and don't get anything done. But I
yes.
just kind of worked my butt off to get here today. So I'm trying to reap the rewards of all the, the holidays that I missed, Christmases and New Year's working, kids' birthdays
Yes.
that I would come home late, still had a party, but it might be on Saturday instead of their birthday on Wednesday because of work schedules. So now
Mhm.
it's my time just to recuperate and pay everybody back for their patience with me.
That's amazing. Yeah, you know what? You've worked it. You've enjoyed it. It's time to reap the rewards and just take the time for yourself. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's time to
Um,
reboot.
Mark. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mark, of course, has a wonderful question for you. And CJ, what character have you come across that's scared you the most?
Mark, I don't know about a character per se, but the paranormal bothers me because, as Anthony, you mentioned earlier about aliens, and like I said, well, I don't know. I've never met one or seen one. Same with the paranormal. I don't doubt it, but I don't know of
Mhm.
it. But anything that I can't see, touch, or break, that can be a little terrifying. Anything that I can't control. I'm a control freak. I'm 6'3", 250.
Okay.
All right. I want to control it. When you can't control
Yep.
paranormal, and according to what you see, that kind of be a little freaky because you lose control. Um, you know, I, I don't know, Mark. I think it's one of those things that until I see it, maybe it's more friendly that we get taught. Maybe there's friendly paranormal, but there's some pretty cool shows out there. You go, oh, if that happened to me, I'm out of here.
Right.
Jason or no Jason, I'm
I
gone.
Yeah, some of the craziest horror movies I've ever seen. It's the fear of the unknown, what you can't see. And I remember watching M. Night Shyamalan's I think it was Signs or certain no Signs, and it was really good right up until they showed aliens, and I was like, oh my god, what is it? What is it? And it was I was like, oh, I was an alien. And then it was just the whole movie was ruined after that. But that whole unseen horror was like freaking the hell out of me, and I thought they should have kind of kept rolling with that right to the end.
No, I mean, when you think about it, what is an alien? What's it supposed to look like? It could look like a butterfly. I don't know.
Yep.
But you know what? If I can't control it, I'll pass. I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Mark says there's more to life. It's a wonderful world. I wish you all the best. Stay safe and enjoy life. And thank you.
I appreciate it. There's one thing that I always tell the fans about Jason Friday the 13th Part 6. Uh, One of my fondest memories, and it's nice because I think Part 6 for the fans out there is where Jason became the principal to the movie. Everybody want to know what Jason was going to do next. But I will
Yes.
tell you the cool thing of Part 6. Number one, Jason Part 6 movie is the only one that has an opening like James Bond.
Hmm.
Part 6 is where Jason comes back to life like Frankenstein. Part 6 has a rock and roll Hall of Famer, Alice Cooper, doing the music.
So good.
And Part
So
6 is the one where I get to wear a Batman utility belt. Don't forget that.
good. So good.
True.
Well, CJ, I've got one more question for you, and that is, what is your favorite podcast that you've been on in the last 12 hours?
Well, it's got to be the friggin' awesome podcast. What else would it be, Anthony?
It's true. There's no one. I don't even think there's other podcasts out there.
Exactly.
Well, CJ, I super appreciate all your time today. We would love to circle back around with you and, of course, have you back again at some point. Do you have any social media or charities or anything passionate that you'd like to tell our listeners about, or some way they can look at what you're doing now?
Right. With everything, yeah, I do have a website, jason6.com, jasonvi, romanumeral.com, and
Mhm.
there's memorabilia and stuff on there because we haven't been able to do conventions. And it talks about Vengeance that I did a year ago where I played, it was a fan film. I played
Mhm.
Elias Voorhees. I grew a beard for 4 months, and if you take a look, it's pretty cool. I just finished a film earlier this year before we shut down called 13 Fanboy. I don't know if anybody's got a chance. Deborah Voorhees is producing, writing, directing in it. And Dee Wallace, you may remember her. She's done a lot of films. She has the lead in it. Corey Feldman's in it, of course. Lar Park Lincoln, Kane Hodder. So I know it's ready, canned, and to go. I just don't know how they're going to work on distribution with everything the way it is. And then we're just kind of looking towards 2021. 2020 really came to a screeching halt, but that's okay because I've been fortunate to remain healthy, as a lot of people I know, and there are a lot of people that did not remain healthy. So 2020 is okay for me. So I'm not complaining. And the thing I look forward to is just seeing what I can do. Now that I've got time on my hands, Anthony, I can do different parts. I can look at different roles that are available. I still have a Screen Actors Guild card, so I can always step forward with that. For whatever reason, I was smart enough to keep it all these years and keep it active. So that's kind of cool. But if the fans get a chance, you can look up Jason 6 or just put cjgraham.com. You'll find it. And take a look at the website. And there's enough information on the internet about me that you can find me if you want to.
Perfect. Well, we'll make sure also for our listeners who are listening to this episode after, of course, the live air, that we make sure that we put up a beautiful picture of CJ Graham up on our website under our guest section, as well as any social media links and also a link to his website.
Well, hopefully I'll see some of the fans at a convention next year. Next year I'm doing a few that have already been rescheduled, and I've been doing wardrobe photo ops with the fans. And I've been doing wardrobe with the fans and Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper and I have been doing photos over the last 3 years too with the fans, so it's been pretty fun.
That is amazing. That would definitely be a photo opportunity I'd love to get in on. So if you guys are ever up in this Canadian neighborhood,
we also, Anthony, did a couple things like Kane Hodder and myself would do photos in full wardrobe with fans. Steve Dash, before he passed away a couple of years ago, we did some really cool photo ops. So it's been great for the fans, but. It's the unfortunate thing about the Jasons. We've lost a couple of them in the last few years. Richard Brooker, we lost about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. And then Steve Dash passed about 2 years ago. Ted White is in his 90s. I don't know if people know that. He's from Part 4. Ted White is an amazing icon from Hollywood. He was working with everybody from Clark Gable to John Wayne over his career.
Wow.
And he laughs because he's done over 100 films, but everybody only knows him because he played the role of Jason, and he just thinks it's funny.
Really funny. Yeah. Go figure, right? But that goes to show the power of Jason, right? I mean, he was such a great character that people loved, and like I said, it wasn't all about special effects and everything. It was all about that silent terror, and it was fantastic. I mean, he could have made black and white silent movies, and it still would have been just as amazing. So it's really cool. Really cool.
Thank all the fans, Anthony. You guys, thank Friggin' Awesome Podcast for allowing me to be on. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for even thinking of me. You guys have a great, safe Halloween. And hopefully we'll see everybody in 2021 at an event, okay?
Just amazing. We hope to see you again soon, CJ. Thank you very much for all your time tonight.
Peace.
Take care. Bye.